The San Jose Sharks acquired Calen Addison from the Minnesota Wild today. So we're going to break down the trade, why I think this is an absolute home run trade, get to know more about Addison, and then where he fits in on the Sharks on today's episode of Locked On Sharks.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, and I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly a part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well, or subscribe on both. Both is great. And we're going to be digging into the newest Shark, Calen Addison, who the Sharks acquired from the Minnesota Wild today. In kind of a unexpected but very exciting move. And we're going to talk about the trade, why I think this is just an absolute home run swing from Mike Grier. Get to know more about Addison, his background, read his draft profile, and kind of where he fits in with the Sharks and why he could be a potential long-term piece for San Jose. So before we get into all that, I know we have Sharks Oilers coming tonight. You guys can catch Puck Drop as the Sharks try to go for that elusive second win of the hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Sharks. So let's break down the trade. Sharks acquired Calen Addison, right-handed defenseman from the Minnesota Wild for a 2026 fifth-round pick and Adam Raska. And this, to be honest, was a really, really, really good trade by Mike Grier. You basically gave up a fifth-round pick and a player who honestly probably doesn't have much of a future for you in Adam Raska. We'll get to Raska here in a minute. For a guy who can be not only an immediate impact for your team right now, and in probably their biggest area of weakness, plus he's also can be a long-term piece for you, again, as he's still just 23. Let's start with the Raska piece before we get more into Addison. Raska, who is a 2027th round pick, has played for the Barracuda the last couple of seasons, but you could kind of tell that he had been surpassed by some of the other players, right? You look at Raska's profile, right? He's that scrappy, energy, bottom line type of player. And you have an Ozzy Weisbot who you spent a first round pick and is really kind of starting to show his form, has a much higher ceiling, of course, being a first round pick in that same draft class, and has shown offensive skills in his junior season, but also plays with that edge that you're looking for. And I think for Raska, this is a chance for him to go somewhere else and see if he can kind of revitalize his career, and especially in a team like Iowa or like the Wild, who kind of do still value that physical presence, physical tenacity type of player. You look at the defensive player that they acquired today, and then also they traded for Ryan Reeves last season. Like, you can kind of see Raska potentially playing some NHL games for them, if they're trying to continue to add a physicality to their team. But for Addison, a guy who kind of got squeezed out of the Wild, right? Especially when they acquired Brock Faber from the LA Kings, a couple seasons ago, and he kind of feels like their offensive puck moving defenseman of the future. And for a guy like Addison, who has shown skill, he has shown. And we'll get into his stats and his background a little bit, but this is Mike Grier just taking advantage of another team's problem, right? And not only taking advantage, but helping to solve one of your biggest problems, or at least throwing resources at one of your biggest problems. And like, it's an absolute win. Even if Addison doesn't play well, you at least attempted, right? You're not just kind of banging your head against the wall and be like, Kyle Burrows or your pick of the litter guy, any of the Sharks defensemen really. Go be something you're not, right? And we know the Sharks defensemen are definitely not puck moving offensive defensemen. Enter Calen Addison, who I think can be kind of a bridge player / long-term piece for the Sharks going forward with his skill set. And again, you gave up a 5th round pick 3 years from now. You can get that back quite easily. Remember, the Sharks traded for Lane Peterson for a 4th round pick from the Coyotes a couple of years ago. Like a 5th round, you got Mackenzie Blackwood for a 6th round pick, and like that's looking like an absolute steal of a trade. Just a smart move from Mike Grier. And I know there's plenty of questions about his vision and his execution. But moves like this show like, hey, maybe, Mike Grier, he's got a big plan. And I think taking advantage of another team's opportunities. We saw that when he acquired Anthony Duclair, right? You knew the Florida Panthers were in a tough situation with their cap. You traded a 4th line center and a late round pick for Anthony Duclair, who is a top 6 forward for your team and is now really starting to kind of find his groove for the Sharks, as we saw with his goal and assist the other night. I love this move. I think Addison's going to come in, and we'll get, like I said, we'll get into the fit and what to expect from him. But I love moves like this where you're kind of taking a very low risk gamble, low cost, very high reward for a player like Addison, who's just kind of squeezed out. And again, the Wild have, they have bigger aspirations right now. They have guys who they think are of higher ceilings, which totally makes sense. It kind of goes back to the Capo-Kakinen trade, right? Capo-Kakinen at the time wasn't going to help the Wild win the cup that year. They wanted, a guy like Marc-Andre Fleury. They know they have Volstad coming. Like Capo-Kakinen just kind of got phased out of the plans, and Capo-Kakinen has had an up and down career with the Sharks so far, but like it's the same type of thinking where you're taking advantage of another team's kind of issues. Addison, right? He was the power play 1 quarterback for the Wild last year. Their power play was kind of middle of the pack last year, and then now you have guys like Brock Faber, who's going to kind of be their defense, their power play quarterback of the future, and probably here sooner rather than later. And for them just to kind of get out of business and try to help their team immediately, and that's kind of what they did today. So love it. A+ grade from Mike Grier. We had a small scare when because Addison wore number 2 for the Wild, and of course we know Sharks fans, Will Smith wearing number 2. Small scare for like 2 minutes where there was thought that Addison might take number 2, but no, he'll be wearing number 33, which is a very goalie number. But that leaves the door open. I know it's a dumb thing, but leaves the door open for Will Smith to be coming over here soon and not have to worry about him wearing very Patrick Marleau wearing like number 14 for a while until his number 2 opens up. So, or just picking some random number for Will Smith. I guess it'd probably be like 43 because that's what he wore on the U.S. national team before he switched to 2. But anyway, so we'll dig into Addison's background and kind of where he fits with the Sharks here in just 1 second. If you are and we spend a lot of time together, right? We get fired up together over wins when they do happen, losses, who sits, who starts, and I'm thankful for that connection that we have. And today I want to chat about something a little bit more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. You realize what that means? Bring on extended travel. Bring on the next natural disaster, bring on supplies that chain issues. You are covered, my friend. You don't have to worry about whether or not you're going to refill your generics for Cialis, Viagra, Vitalo prescriptions. And this is possible because of our friends over at Jace Medical. Go online right now at Jace Medical to receive your 12-month supply of your daily medication. Remember to use promo code Locked On at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jace. I'm thankful for the service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have them. I ordered most of my daily medicines with a year supply. I also ordered an antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies, and I highly recommend this for everyone. So if you or someone you love would like to get peace of mind by having a year supply of any daily medicine, go to jacemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. Remember to use promo code Locked On for $20 off your purchase. All right, so let's learn more about one Calen Addison. So pull up the old screen here on YouTube, and I will do my best for the listeners to also kind of cover everything as well. So Calen Addison, a 5'11", 173-pound right-handed defenseman, has 1 year left. He signed a 1-year deal for $850,000 this last offseason. Still an RFA, so you still own his rights this season. So like the Sharks will have, unless he just just crashes out, Addison's going to be around for at least a couple of seasons. So this season he's got 12 games, has 0 goals, 5 assists, 18 shots on goal. He's averaging 16.48 time on ice, Corsi for 51.16, goals for 47.37. Digging back in Addison's profile, so he was a second-round pick by the Pittsburgh Penguins back in the 2018 draft. 2018 draft. And he was traded actually for Jason Zucker way back in 2020, right before COVID hit. But so Addison was part of that trade to get Jason Zucker, as the Penguins were trying to load up for a, of course, failed cup run. Jason Zucker, Patrick Marleau, forever Penguins. But so let's dig into kind of a little bit on his draft profile. So our good friends over at Eyes on the Prize, Justin Blades, wrote this back in 2018. So Calen Addison's approach to the defensive game is to use his stick to strip the puck from attacking forwards, either using his mobility to keep up with them or in one-on-one situations or darting in and out of boards battles to create a change of possession. Also, once in the offensive zone, the heads-up style serves his team offensive game very well. He distributes the puck to teammates in scoring positions, either by finding someone left open or by zipping past through traffic to find a teammate's stick. He monitors the bodies in front of the net to know when to fire a powerful wrist shot into traffic, hoping for a screen or deflection, or to unleash a slap shot that can beat a goaltender on its own. He keeping his head up while he has possession. He can scan the ice surface looking for the best way to advance the newly won puck. A crisp, accurate pass can get it forward with space to skate, or he can put his quick acceleration to good use and skate the puck out himself. Something we really need. So he was kind of looked at as a potential end of the first, beginning of the second. Went kind of late in the second round to the Penguins. So definitely kind of fits what the Sharks are looking for. Looking at what he's done in the NHL. So this is from last season where he kind of really, got to he played 62 games with the Wild last season. Was a positive producing expected offense. Maybe didn't get the goals you would expect. As playing third pairing minutes was a 71st percentile offense. Power play, though, where the Sharks have struggled to find somebody. Great job of goals above replacement, was the quarterback for the Wild's power play, who ranked kind of middle in the pack at 21% last year. Didn't play much shorthand. Again, the Sharks have so many bodies they can throw at on the shorthanded, so it's not like I wouldn't expect him to kind of play there. Maybe a little bit, but again, I would use him in other ways, right? He's an okay defender. So I think the perfect partner is huge for him, and we'll get to who I think would be a great partner for him here in a little bit. Um, Looking at his WAR, so wins above replacements, he's a 79th percentile WAR, kind of as a depth defenseman. Even strength offense is 73 percentile. Power play 69th percentile. Very nice finishing, 59th percentile. So he's a hope to see what happens when you give him more opportunities. Right, he's probably going to play much more with the Sharks than he was playing with the Wild because they just don't have an NHL caliber defenseman like him right now. You look at Byron Bader with his scoring model. So he, just a quick reminder for his star player as a defenseman is 0.45 career points per game, and an NHLer is 200 games played. 66 percentile to be a star producer when he by his draft 3+ year season, and an 87 percentile to be an NHLer. One of his comps, Dan freaking Boyle. I don't think he'll be as good defensively as Dan Boyle, but just to be mentioned in the same, not the worst comp that you could definitely come up with. So again, I think this is a great great swing by Mike Grier here. Just because, again, the Sharks don't have an NHL player like this on their roster, and especially after trading Erik Karlsson. Erik Karlsson, who is an amazing player, won the Norris. They didn't do anything to try to actively replace him, and I think getting a guy for a 5th rounder who can kind of come in, and if he's 60% of Erik Karlsson, that's better than the 0% of Erik Karlsson that you have right now on the roster. So, and looking at his, like some of his analytics, like last year, he on the power play, he was, like I said, he played the most power play minutes for defenseman. He was the power play quarterback. Last year for the Wild, he was pulling up the thing right now. His Corsi 4 was he was 3rd among defensemen for the Wild last year, playing 746 minutes at 5v5, 50.65%, right? The goals for definitely wasn't the highlight there. So maybe that might come with some of the defensive breakdowns, or which, again, we have seen with Erik Karlsson. Again, I'm not trying to say Addison's Erik Karlsson, but you're going to live with that sometimes with those types of defensemen. So, but yeah, he was a positive Corsi 4 last year on the Wild. His shots for right around 50%, a little under 50% for his shot for percentage. High danger chance for, again, a little bit below 50%. With the high danger chances for, when he was on the ice, they generated 120, and they allowed 133. Again, playing kind of 3rd pairing minutes. So those minutes can be a little wonky depending on who your zone starts and things like that. Mostly got kind of neutral zone starts with the Wild last year. But again, I think this is a great swing. We'll get into where he fits and what his potential impact should be for the Sharks here in just one second. As a business owner, you realize there are many times when receivables might fall behind, but that doesn't mean you need to fall behind on vendor payments, payroll, or rent. For more than 25 years, Parkview Advances help businesses secure working capital. From $5,000 to $1.5 million, Parkview Advance can approve your working capital in as little as 24 hours. It's a much easier process than you might imagine. We invite the many entrepreneurs that are Locked On NHL fans to learn more by calling us at 203-675-0071 or go to parkviewadvance.com. If your business needs working capital, call Parkview Advance today. Parkview Advance, helping businesses with their working capital. Go to parkviewadvance.com. So where does Addison fit in? He is your new quarterback one on the power play. I don't know. He's supposed to get in Thursday or Wednesday night. We'll see if he plays on Thursday against the Oilers. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised, especially with the Jacob McDonald going on IR. So that kind of opens up another defensive roster spot. Matt Benning's still out. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing right away. Just because, again, what do you got to lose right now? If not, he'll definitely be playing on Friday when they play the Golden Knights. But I would expect him to, honestly, to be in the lineup on Thursday night. So but yeah, he's going to be your quarterback one, and I actually expect him to kind of play. I think he's going to be your first line defenseman. Maybe not right away, but I think he will be up there. And honestly, I think a good partner for him would be Mario Ferraro. And Ferraro's had his issues, right? But I think Ferraro's had his issues because I don't think he's had the right partner, right? He's had to play with Brent Burns, who we know Brent Burns can be a little Brent Burns-ish and kind of do his own thing. But again, Brent Burns is a Hall of Fame defenseman, and he can kind of get away with that, right? And he's kind of had to cover for that. Then he's been kind of saddled with some really also defensive defensemen. But I think a guy like Addison, who's, again, he's not like a stay-at-home shutdown defenseman. He's going to be more offensively generated, but he's not like an Erik Karlsson, right? Where it's just like offense all the time. I think he's got a good mix, and, I don't want to say like 50-50 blend, but like, we'll say like a 70-30 blend of offense and defense. And I think a guy like Ferraro, who's like a 70-30 blend of defense and offense, this is the pair I kind of want to see together, and see how these guys work. And I don't expect it to be good right away, but this is the pair that I could see have some really nice chemistry, and I think it'll help kind of slot everyone into their proper place, right? Burrows, who's been a good, I think a good signing so far for the Sharks this year. Again, not having to play top pairing minutes, but Burrows as your second pair of defensemen, right? And then whenever Benning comes back, he can kind of come back in. And then you have Ruda, who's been kind of up and down. I didn't really like his game very much on Tuesday against the Flyers, except for the very, very nice kind of textbook defense on the breakaway. And then like Ty Emberson, right? Like what do I know? But I would love to see Addison defense, right? Your first pair of defensemen, Ty Emberson, your second pair of defensemen, and then Kyle Burrows right now until everybody gets healthy as that's your 1, 2, 3 on the right-hand side. That's not the worst. At least you can kind of squint and see like, okay, I can kind of see that, right? I think Emberson's played pretty well this year. I think Burrows has been kind of the best of like the veteran guys between Benning and Ruda and Burrows, like on the right-hand side. I would be okay with that. But like I said, I do want to see Ferraro kind of get the first crack. Do not put Vlasic with him. That is remove the stone of shame, put on the stone of triumph, 1000% right there, by putting him with Vlasic. Maybe Ohochuk, who's been playing mostly bottom pairing minutes, but you wonder if that's Ohochuk or Ruda, kind of what's the issue there with those guys. Or I mean, Knizhov, who kind of feels like the seventh defenseman right now. So I want to see Ferraro and Emberson get some extended time and try to kind of figure out some chemistry on the fly and see how those guys do. And I think this is honestly, as weird as it sounds, I think this is good for a guy like Muka Madulin. Yeah, I think it pushes back the Muka Madulin timeline to when we see him, especially if Emberson works out. But then you don't feel like you have to rush him. And Mike Grier talked about in his availability the other day of, I don't want to kind of bring, especially young defensemen, up into the mess that we have right now, and then expect kind of the world of them. And those guys, it's kind of soul crushing when you're having to play so much defense all the time. And that's what the Sharks are doing right now, is having to play a ton of defense all the time. And it's not good for a guy like Muka Madulin's development, right? You need Muka Madulin kind of making plays and stuff like that. So I think we'll still see Muka Madulin at some point this season. I think it gives you a little bit of a bridge, that way you're not like rushing Muka Madulin. You can kind of pull him up when you feel he's ready to come up and actually, one, your team is not a hot mess. Who knows if that's going to ever happen? Or two, you feel like Muka Madulin's ready to kind of come in and really make an impact. So, yeah, I expect him to. I wonder if I don't know if we'll see him as the leading average time on ice per game, but I wouldn't be surprised if especially if Emerson kind of hits the ground running, if Quinn rides him, right? We saw that with Henry Thrun last year. Thrun, who was a little bit younger, I guess they're kind of close to the same age. Yeah, kind of close to the same age. But Addison's already got close to 100 NHL games, right? He kind of knows what he's doing right now. So if he hits the ground running, I wouldn't be surprised if Quinn tries to ride him a little bit, and especially for Quinn right now, who is fighting for his job, or he needs to continue to show some improvement out of this team over the next 10 days. Like that was the timeline we heard from Mike Grier. You wonder, this is me speculating, you wonder if Quinn and Grier was like, hey, like, you want me to do something, you got to give me some help. Like, if you want to see some improvement, you got to give me some NHL caliber help. And Grier was like, okay, let me see what I can do for you. That's just me speculating, but wouldn't be surprised, right? Making chicken salad out of chicken poop. I just got sidetracked by myself. Anyway, Addison, though, I think he's going to be, I really love this addition. And if he plays well, you have an RFA year, you can maybe kind of a short-term deal, kind of bridge deal, and kind of let things ride out from there. You're going to have plenty of cap space, right? You don't have a lot of guys you have to urgently resign this season. And again, you gave up a 5th-round pick in 3 seasons from now. You'll get a 5th-round pick or better at some point this season. Jacob Megna got a 4th-round pick for you last year, and that's what got you Luca Cagnoni. So getting a 5th-round pick is pretty easy to do in the NHL for some of your guys. So, and they've got plenty of guys who will net you a 5th-round pick or better. So I'm not worried about the draft capital. I'm not worried about losing Adam Raska. Like, I wish Adam Raska the best. RIP Raska Robbins, but this was a home run steal, A+ grade from Mike Grier. And let's see if Addison, given more opportunity, what he can do. Definitely on not as good a team as the Wild, nowhere close as good as a team as the Wild, but give a guy some leadway, give him some ice time, put some players around him, and see what he can do. And RIP to the 5-forward chaos approach power play. So that's going to be it for me today. We'll be back tomorrow to discuss the Oilers game. So see if the Sharks can get their second win, or everything will be right in the world and Edmonton will crush the Sharks, because everything's on fire up in Edmonton right now. So man, if the Sharks beat the Oilers, that is going to be absolutely insane. So we'll discuss that game. And then next week, we'll get you guys caught up on the weekend's games, and plenty of good stuff coming here at Locked On Sharks. Make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts, or you can subscribe on YouTube as well. You can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Instagram, I think we're getting close to 1,000 followers. So if you want to do that, that would be nice. You can follow me on Twitter at MyFryhole. Until tomorrow. Bye, friends.